But first, that's without that piece on. Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today, we are looking at another Play Arts Kai figure. This time, yeah, you probably saw it from the thumbnail, obviously. That's why you clicked on the video. But Yuffie KISARAGI. And this is specifically from the Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, which I haven't played Intergrade, but I played Remake, and then I got to like one chapter before it's supposed to end, and I just stopped playing. What's wrong with me? Complete the game already. With reviews on this channel, we always do an overview of the box and everything that's inside of it. Then we look at details, articulation, and posing, and then we round it all off with a nice overall rating. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start with looking at the packaging. So we have the Square Enix Products Arts logo in the corner, and then this Play Arts action figure Kai. So at the bottom of the box, we have the warnings. We have some basic information here. I think this was available in 2022. I could be wrong. And then the seal of approval, which this is a new item, the newest item that they've made that I have. So I have this one, which I've previously reviewed, and that's like 2018. This one is 21 or 22 when it came out. So the sides of the box are pretty basic. We've got the top of the box, again, with some warnings, just in alternate languages. And the bottom of the box is very simple, and I think that is production dates, August of 22. Anywho, so on the back of the box, we've got some great product shots in action with some backgrounds from the game itself. And then couple different logos here. We've got her name. We've got a lot of Japanese, as you can see. And of course, as always, I will put the Google Translate version on the screens just so everybody can see what all is being said here. And I actually ordered this one from a seller on Amazon, and it came actually super quick and was actually below the retail value. So I got a good deal on the item. Looking forward to opening it up. So let's check out on the inside here. We've got this whole backstory of Yuffie, which of course feel free to pause and read, but it's essentially just the story, the bio of the character, and then all of the items that we're getting inside here. And this kind of got like a frosted look on the plastic here. So obviously her weapon. So this is a really cool way to include artwork in the plastic window in the packaging and just heighten the whole experience up just a little bit more. And I'm really a fan of that. So let's open it up and see what all we got in the box. And with this one, I like to pull the sleeve out because it looks like they've changed it. It's actually a pretty basic sleeve on this one, but with that one from 2018, there was all the instructions were printed on the box and the stand was attached to the back of the box. I actually preferred that versus this, which has just a lot more plastic and now more pieces of paper. So we just have essentially more waste. But if you don't want to keep that huge sleeve and you want your instructions, I guess, you know, this is potentially a better route. But there's the full set of instructions on how to put everything together, all the different combinations of her hands and face and everything, and then some more information here on the back, and then how to build the stand, which looks a bit different from the last stand that I've had, but basic concept is still there. And if you enjoyed this channel and everything that I'm doing here, then consider subscribing and leave a comment down below and let me know what kind of figure you'd like to see next time. All right, so with this layout, we actually have 2 layers of plastic. Maybe 3 layers. Yep, 3 layers, which I hate. That's just so much waste. So let's get this layer of plastic off. So with that layer of plastic off the top, we can see the figure a little bit more. There's some plastic around all of these plastic bits, which are unfortunately not soft goods, which it would be perfect. Again, just like her cape would have been perfect to have a soft goods. And then we have the stand here. So let's get everything out of the plastic. Let's get all these pieces out and take a look at what we got. And it's actually 4 layers of plastic because even this one has a cover. And I hate that. I hate that so much. Such a waste. All right, so there we go. We got everything out of the box and it's looking really, really nice. The details are spectacular as expected. And I do like that this is a black stand versus the clear because I have a black stand. But normally I like the clear ones because they just kind of blend in a little bit better. But this is looking really good. I like that they actually have little stands for the hands. Handstands. I'm an idiot. All right, so they got handstands, they got some materia in there. So let's look at an overview of everything we got in there, right? So we got an arm for the stand, the base, which has multiple points, which is really cool. So that's really gonna help counterbalance depending on the dynamic pose you use. And then 2 different claw sizes. And you don't have to put this one together, which is nice. The other one, that one you had to put together, but it looks like you'll have to tighten the screws to ensure that nothing gets loose, but that's okay, that's easy. So we've got her weapon, we've got this alternate hood, so you can have her head exposed, we have an alternate head, then we have 3 right hands and 2 left hands, plus of course the hands that are already included. And I wonder, I guess they're just giving you this extra one with the materia in it, where really you're kind of getting 2 for each side. This is just a bonus if you wanted to hold materia versus just having it in there. So that sizing of materia is interesting. And I wonder, which materia is this? The green one. I bet somebody can tell me down in the comments. And then Yuffie herself, which looks really good. I mean, it is plastic and not a soft goods, but it still looks great. And I love that it has this, you know, paint work going on to give it some like wash and stuff. But we'll look at that now because we're gonna get into the details. So let's just start here with the weapon, which looks fantastic. I am loving this paintwork. So it's got this kind of metallic look going on and all the metal bits, and then this cloth bit, and then the paint really helps that stand out. And then we got this insignia etched in there. I mean, this is fantastic. Just the details alone on the weapon. But you know, it's a huge scale. Looking at it, she might actually be larger than Lightning. And that's a 2018, this is 21 or 22, which just throws off all the scales. I assume that every series will stay the same, right? Like if you get Final Fantasy VII Remake anything, I'm sure they're all gonna fit well together. I'd like to get Cloud, see how that scales up, because I don't, you know, we'd have to look online to see their heights, whatever. So let's look at the alternate hood. So we got some really nice details going on in here. I mean, of course, right? Everything about this so far, the details have been spectacular. So we got the buttons, the little nose, and then the ball on the hat. The ears look good. I mean, that fold that's going on there, you gotta get this like stitching. This is really nice. I love the paint work. Very, very good. So let's look at the set of hands here. So obviously you got the fists, you got an open hand to hold the weapon, and then this one which holds the materia. They all look painted, obviously the same because they should be, but the details in that paintwork are really nice. And then the sculpt, of course, looks really, really good. So I'm a huge fan already, which I figured I would be based on the older one. And the 2 left hands, so paintwork looks a little bit different now, so maybe some inconsistencies. This looks a little bit worn. This looks a little more fresh. So we got like some weathered effects going, but then we've lost it here, unfortunately. But it is a fist, and you're less likely to see it because of this outer piece, but it would be nice to have that consistency in there. But that's very fine details, and it still looks great in person. It's just the cameras, maybe I should get a better lens. So with the alternate head, we can obviously see some really good details. The paint works. She's even got eyelashes in the detail there, the reflection in the eye. They were able to sculpt teeth and not make them look too weird. Maybe she has a little bit too much lipstick around the cracks in the mouth. At least on this side, kind of looks a little silly. But that's gonna happen when you shove it into a camera and try to look at extreme details. So sitting back here a little bit further, it still looks great. And then of course all the details here in the back of the hair. Look at that sculpt work and the paint work. The paint in the hair. The stand is pretty simple. I mean, it's a semi-transparent black, kind of brownish black, really. And then with a matte finish, you can see on this piece. And the 2 claws. So different areas of grip that you might need, different levels, sizes, whatever, you got it. Now, looking at Yuffie herself and those details, looking spectacular. I really am just a fan of all of this, like, you know, sculpting that's going on to make this look like ruffled clothing. It's just really cool. Of course, it's got a similar shoulder layout to Lightning. If you didn't see that review, there's a big gap at the top there, which just allows some like kind of extra movement around in the arms and stuff. So I expect we'll have some pretty good articulation there, despite how thick the clothing is. But you can see this kind of weathered look going on in here. So there's some like darker areas and lighter areas, but it's all obviously just plastic, but it looks very nice. You just, you know, it's gonna live in this shape forever, where if you had a soft goods, you could, you know, kind of play that up a little bit, and especially if it had some wires in the cloth, you could have it kind of in different poses and stuff. But let's see more details here. The face looks really good, even with this hood on her head. But all the details here, this fabric, I mean, just look at the texture in the fabric. This is really cool. Very nicely done. There's a seam that you can see here for the mold, which is a little bit of a bummer. Couldn't have been covered up in a different way, like maybe look like stitching or something. Beyond that, so obviously you can get all the way in the arms and stuff, so she has her traditional clothing on underneath, but it's a little harder to see because of all of the clothing pieces that are on there. And yeah, you definitely cannot, I guess you can remove it, but you're gonna have this like weird shoulder stubs, which is kind of a bummer. Like it's almost the perfect figure if you could remove all of these pieces and then have like a double action figure. I mean, she left her pants on, but she must have had a big meal. But if this is like a foresight into the version of her releasing without the like clothing, the extra layer, the whatever you would call this, I think they obviously need to fix that, because that's a really goofy looking. But yeah, so this comes off. It's just a couple pieces holding on the left arm. It's just one little nub on the top of the shoulder. But so that's the left arm. You got this nub. Look at how much shoulder gap is in there. So it's, yeah, I mean, it helps with articulation, but it's really needed because of these shoulder parts. So this is great. I mean, you're getting really good detail even under the pieces that on the pieces that are initially covered up. So it looks awesome. I'm very much a fan of what they've got going on here. Now, they don't have the bubbled elbow joints, and the knees look way better than they do on Lightning, which you could maybe even see from this video. Continuing the details, we got the brace around the leg, or whatever you would call this. This looks really good. The kind of fishnet pattern here is actually a texture you can touch. It's etched into the leg, so it's actually like a filled in fishnet. So technically the skin's kind of plumped out of. It's a little reversed of what you might expect it to be, but it comes off really well. And then all the details in the socks, which, you know, nice weathered look. They look definitely used and worn and dirtied up and stuff. So details in the foot, you get to get the laces, the boots. Obviously you got some hinges here. And then the bottom of the feet, again, no peg holes for these figures from the play arts. But that's details. Now let's look at articulation. So starting at the top, of course, I think we're gonna have some concerns because of how much is going on with this shawl, or whatever you want to call it. But let's start here with the head. So we can spin it all the way around. Despite everything that's going on there, you can do it, and each layer can kind of get manipulated there as needed, which is helpful. It's actually a lot more articulation leaning left and right than I would have expected. So let's see the up and down though. So looking up, it's actually pretty good. I'm very surprised. And then looking down, yeah, that's great. Considering how many layers she's got on, this thing can really articulate well. I think down could be a little bit more than what you are getting here, but that could just be a way of manipulating things to get more out of it. Yeah, so even more if you just get stuff out of the way. It doesn't look great with her looking down that far, but looking up is, look at that, it's really good. So you can get some nice emotion, or whatever, head tilts and stuff out of this figure. Very surprised. The arms, so we can get into a T pose. If you get underneath this plastic, you'll be able to get to the elbows and stuff, but it looks like there's some rotation here at the upper half. But as far as rotating the shoulders, yep, no problem. That works all very well, even with as much clothing and stuff as going on. That pops off if you twist it too tight, but that's my fault. So below the shoulder and above the elbow, you can rotate again there, which is nice. And then you have the elbow, which is actually a double jointed elbow. So you get some really good articulation out of that. Now, the other side, the rotation piece is a little bit lower on the arm. You still get a double jointed elbow, which is great. Man, that is great articulation. And then, is there another level of rotation, I wonder? So the next level after the double jointed elbow is going to be this ball joint wrist, which they've been doing for a while, it seems. Now this is obviously going to get in the way, so we can't go back very much, but we can go down 90 degrees. And then because it is this ball joint style, you can actually rotate it and then rotate the wrist in a different direction, which is really cool. So really nice articulation. Then of course, if you need the hand to go back, just kind of, you know, manipulate where all of these pieces are and get that pose. But this side obviously is not going to be a problem. Now, anything going on? Yeah, so she's got some torso rotation and stuff that we're going to be able to get out of that. So you can fully turn her inside, no problem. Nothing's getting in the way there. Now, crunching, I wonder. Oh, look, this is a ball joint. So the front pieces are actually on ball joints, and you could probably, yeah, pull those out, no problem. So you can actually kind of separate some pieces if you need to, but that's just additional levels of articulation. So you can rotate those things. They bend, which is really cool. So you can, that's really going to help with articulation in the body. So let's get any kind of ab crunch here. Just got some ab crunches, no problem. You can bend backwards, and then you're going to get this left and right, which is really good. Very much, honestly, it's unexpected levels of articulation based on how much clothing and stuff is going on with this shawl. We have waist or hips are also rotating, so you get up here and at the lower half, which is really cool. So really a lot of articulation, and again, the details are fantastic, even in the pockets and all the etch work that's going on there despite being covered up. So the legs, you can hear those ratchets going, but they work well. They're kind of a ball joint ratchet, so best of both worlds, I guess. So you're gonna get ratchets that are gonna hold in place very nicely and be able to handle some balance without being loose, but you get the ball joint so you can kind of spin it and do it in any position you could possibly want, which is amazing. This is honestly the best hip leg joints that I've seen on anything so far. Generally, it's just either a ball or the kind of ratchet stuff. So this is next level. We got some rotation here right at the bottom of the shorts, so that part of the leg can spin, which is awesome. It just doesn't seem, yep. So it happens on both sides. And then we've got double jointed knees, which look much better than they used to, but we're still getting a little bit of an awkward kind of overall design. But you know, when you're just going bare leg on a skinny figure, that definitely is hard to get a good design out of. I don't know who's got the best knees out there, but these aren't bad at all. Do we have any other rotation? So right above the ankle, that fold in the sock, we have some rotation, which is great. We've got the foot, actually that whole section is like a multifunctional joint. So you got this ratchet, you've got a ball joint here at the ankle, so you kind of get that twist going on as you need it to, just to maximize any kind of flat foot pose. You've got incredible toe articulation. This is a little bit extreme, but again, there's no peg stand, so you have to either just get her to stand on her own or use this dynamic stand, but not the end of the world, I guess. So articulation was way better than I expected, which brings us to posing. But first, that's without that piece on. That's a little terrifying. So there we go with Yuffie in this costume specifically. So let's jump into rating this figure. So when we talk about details, they're good. The details are really, really fantastic. There's not really anything that I have an issue with aside from I just wish this was a cloth, mostly because it's limiting the articulation and the posing options. But the paintwork and all the details and everything are fantastic, so let's give this one a 5 out of 5 on details. Which brings us to articulation, and the articulation was actually really good. I mean, some of the poses I could get out of the legs and stuff, I was really surprised. And even though everything's going on with the head here, there's still a lot you can do. But This plastic around the arms definitely causes some restrictions, and then around the back and stuff, so it kind of causes the posing stage to fall short because you just can't quite get everything you would possibly want out of this without it looking a little weird because of like the underside of the shawl or whatever you want to call this thing. And beyond that, the joints in the wrist have actually gotten pretty loose, so when you put the weapon in her hand, it just kind of falls, which is a bit disappointing. And the knees, because they don't ratchet like they did on the older figures like in 2018, the ratchets are just around the upper part of the leg. These have actually gotten pretty soft and loose. Not super wobbly, but loose enough that it causes some challenges with getting her to stand on her own without the help of the stand itself. And a big thing with the articulation is that you can actually remove the face plates and exchange them. So if you want her smiling face without the hood, you can actually replace the head faceplate, which is really cool. So they've really outdone themselves in the sense of like the extra head sculpt and what you can do with that. And I wish that I would have had that option with Lightning. I think an alternate head that was a little bit more serious, even though this isn't totally serious, but since these characters are fighting like all the time, a good angry kind of fighting face would be ideal. So even with all of that, the articulation is still really great, and you can get a lot out of it that you wouldn't expect by looking at it. So we'll give the articulation a 4 out of 5. Which brings us to posing. And posing was fun, and you could still do some cool stuff, and having a nice stand like that can allow for some dynamic poses. However, the restriction of all of the plastic here, and you can't remove all the plastic, unfortunately, because it's actually like glued in and attached in ways. I mean, you can almost have 2 figures in one, and I really wish you could have. The neck area is actually taller than normal to allow for all of this to work, so it would look weird, but considering how much is under there, it's a little bit of a bummer that you can't just remove this plastic stuff and have the default character clothing. So posing was certainly limited, but I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. So that's it. Those are the scores for Yuffie. That's the overall rating. Let me know what you think. Does this deserve that kind of score? Is this something that you're gonna get and bring home yourself? But based on this one and based on the price, I think she might be worth waiting for the regular outfit, to be honest. This one's really cool, and I enjoy it, but it made me just really want her without the costume on, like just the regular skin variant or whatever. So maybe just wait, see what happens if that comes out. And if you enjoyed this review, then I think you're really gonna like that one. So click that, watch it, and we'll see you next time.